It was empty, except for the bartender. Clearly this bar's only special was unhappy hour. Two for one was a good deal, though, and so far the beer had lifted John's spirits. Another 4 would make him feel twice as good. The bartender gave John a smile that set his heart hammering. He had to impress her. What was so offensive about offering a big tip in exchange for a date? John had thought bartenders loved tips. He needed to find a better club, one with a vibe. John was drawn by the pulse of the music. It pulled him forward like a moth to a fiery death. John was running out of time to find a date and prove that he wasn't a loser. Dancing, the real way to flirt, the way of animals, of wild sexual creatures. John strutted and shook his booty. With booze buzzing round his head, John found himself on the dance floor. Everyone was up close and sweaty. John was exhilarated. He felt alive. John was working himself up to try a little bump and grind. It was a moment out of a movie. John alone on the dance floor with a gorgeous penis, their sexual chemistry exploding. She moved away, coyly. John could tell when someone was playing hard to get. He let her marinate in the tension before making his move. John wasn't taking no for an answer. Some people have no sense of fun, but John was certain the next bar would be different. The next bar wasn't different. John couldn't understand why everyone was so sensitive. It was like no one wanted to have a good time. Like no one had a sense of humor. John had meant that as a compliment. When did the world get so uptight? John's ego was as bruised as his shaft. He had to admit it. He'd failed. He was where he belonged, in a creepy murder alley covered in trash. Oh, that's gross. Blech! Oh, 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 it's so moist, but textured. It smells like rotting dick yogurt. John's misery was sour in his mouth. He needed a drink to wash it down. There was still one bar he hadn't been kicked out of yet. John had cleaned himself up as much as possible. He really needed a mint. John got it in, but he needed more to satisfy the machine. Nailed it. John let out his anger, his frustration. Life was a shitty joke. It wasn't fair. You want to mess with John? Do you? This is what you get. Fuck you, you fucking thing. You had one job. Die! 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 It's not fair. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. That's how you get what you want. Menthol. John wanted the strongest drink they had. Rough night? Someone asked John. He hadn't noticed her when he came in, but now he did. It really had been a rough night for John, but he felt a little better that someone cared enough to ask. But destiny had given John a second chance. John made his move. Unfortunately, according to Alice and to her boyfriend Chadrick, it was the wrong move. Chadrick threw John into the alley and followed, making unoriginal but still terrifying threats. Oh my God! Get him, John! I can't watch. Don't hold back! John had survived. No, he'd won. He'd won! He'd won! He wasn't a loser. And there was the proof lying in a bruised, bloody heap. John didn't need a date to the reunion. He needed to go over there and beat the pre-cum out of those dicks. High school reunion, the perfect time to teach someone a lesson. The doors of the school, a sight John had dreaded every day for years, and now he was going willingly through them, unafraid, fueled by years of unprocessed anger fermented in loneliness. John was back! The chickens were coming home to roost, and they were all cocks. Whoa, John, save it for the bullies. These were the peenlets he'd grown up with, now with jobs and marriages and beer bellies. John was surprised at how ordinary they had all turned out. He spotted them, John's tormentors. Time for them to feel the wrath. How do you like that? Get in there! Dodge! Careful! Whoa! Shake off the pain, buddy. Don't let up. Fight back, John! That's the stuff, John. Ha! Who's a loser now? Who? Ow! Pow! Ha! John had won. He'd won. No one could say John was a loser now. John's primal joy faded as he saw how the other penises looked at him. Not like a winner, like he was trash. John tumbled down the steps, hitting every bruise on his length and his ego. It was her, Harmony. She had been at the reunion. She'd seen it all and followed John out. To laugh at him more? No, to see if he was all right. Why did that hurt John so much? This was John's chance to ask her why all those years ago she'd said to him, "No one will ever love you." Harmony stared at John in shock. How could John not know why? Didn't John remember what he'd done? There was nothing Sam enjoyed more than the fresh air of an early morning. The dew sparkling on the grass, the music of the trees, space to think. Sam stared at the view, peaceful. What was that smell? It made Sam's eye water. It was John, passed out and crusted with vomit and regret. John was awake and tolerably clean. Sam tried to be gentle and invited John to join him on his walk. Sam coaxed John along. It was like herding compost. John couldn't answer Sam's questions yet. How had he ended up such a wreck? Sam couldn't resist the tasty treat. John immediately felt better, but his head was still pounding, and not in a good way. The throbbing ache dulled. John was feeling much more himself, and he realized that was not what he wanted to feel. But they were so good. Even that bit of senseless destruction couldn't cheer John up. Sam saw his friend's misery. He suggested they keep going. John wanted to know something. Why didn't anyone love him? As soon as he said it, he felt like a softie, whining about his feelings. But Sam didn't make fun of him. Sam asked him to go on. And so John told him the whole story, about how hard he'd made himself and how unfair it felt, and everything he'd done. Saying it out loud, John realized he'd sounded like an arsehole. But he'd done everything right. Why didn't he get what he wanted? Why didn't John get love? Wanting someone isn't the same as loving them, said Sam. You figure it out, John. But you have to keep trying. How about a bike ride? Sam asked. John struggled to get his balance, but Sam told him not to give up. John kept trying, getting better as they went. John and Sam stopped and looked at the sunset. For a moment, John let himself be quiet and listen to the world and look at how beautiful it could be. Life can be hard, said Sam, but that doesn't mean we have to be.